Greetings, folks. This is Gerard from West Texas. Bought a piece of raw land. Come along on the voyage from living in a tent to building an automated ranch. That off-grid lifestyle, where it at? Get that freedom, y'all. Good morning from the secret underground bunker of Gerard in West Texas. All right, that's a tribute to one of my favorite shock jocks, but we won't go there. Hey, this is Gerard, West Texas. What time is it? 6 a.m. this morning. I've been up since 3. I need more coffee. I want to do a status update and tell you guys about a few things that's going on. Where is the lighter? There it is. All right, it's how I make my coffee. This is the most critical piece of off-grid equipment I own. This is how I make my coffee every morning. That is not how I make my coffee every morning. Pause the video! Damn it, coffee person! The coffee person messed up. They need to replace the tank. I forgot we ran out of coffee this morning. Okay, we're back. There we go. Why even pay you people? I might be losing. Sometimes I think people watch me just because they're like, he losing it. He gonna lose it next month. He's out there by himself. He's finally gonna lose it. Anyway. Now we got the coffee straight. I had to put a new canister in there. Yeah. So, it's something about fire making coffee. Oh, the lighting. So, I'm going to take you guys through a few things I'm working on. There's a lot. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible, but if you know me, brief is not like a thing. But I'm trying to be concise too. And as detailed as possible. I want people to be able to do this where they are, whether it's West Texas or any desert, and it'd be useful. Or North Carolina. I mean, you can just remove the problem of having water if you live in a very wet place. So a few things I want to talk about. And first of all, I already know I got a big old massive indicator on the side of my face. It's called a zit. It's because somebody has been eating too many damn pies and just look. I have the joys that I have, and late at night after a long, hard, dangerous day at work, something about a pie puts a smile on my face, and so I've got my poison. That's the poison I pick, and I'm run with it. Before I start going down the list, I will start with one thing. For people who don't know me. I don't do this for the follows. I don't do it for the subscriptions. I don't do it to make money. I've made a lot of money in my life, and I've lived very rough in my life. I do this because I think it's the right thing to do. Just try to be positive in the comment section. Be positive. I have no interest in your critiques if you live on grid. Honestly, I don't. I love you to death. I do. And I like balance, in terms of, there's nothing wrong with having a little critique. But as far as like the aesthetics of what I do in the wilds of West Texas in a very dangerous place where it's just me, I have no interest in your critiques on the aesthetics of what I'm doing. The walls behind me are not finished. This cop house is not finished. It is not a priority on my list. Priorities on my list are rattlesnakes that can kill me, Mojaves that can kill me, that can kill my dogs, that can take out chickens, mountain lions, jaguars, javelinas, scorpions, black widow spiders, like dangerous things are the priority. And once I get past the dangerous portion of this project, key being the biggest one being the rattlesnakes, finding rattlesnakes in the chicken coop not a month ago where a little kid was playing. What I do is very serious, and that's what I'm trying to explain. The aesthetics and what you think about how my site looks are very, very low on my list. And I'm only going to have a certain amount of tolerance. Okay, I'm going to leave that where it's at. Try to balance out your positivity and your negativity. Don't bring negativity. Don't bring judgment. Don't bring critique, because all I'm going to do is block and delete you. I don't have any time at all. I live in a very dangerous place, but I'm doing things that I think are very important for where people who think like me need to go. Okay? That's where I'm going to leave it there. So, reading comments. I have some more comments I'm working on. I appreciate you guys. I love y'all to death, man. Y'all, this is the best comment section I've ever seen on YouTube. And it's going to stay that way. We're not doing the negativity. We're going to raise the elevation. Like behind me, you can kind of see right there. I only have 2 pictures that I brought with me off grid. One is Bob Marley, the other is Martin Luther King, and for very specific reasons. They're both very positive men, most positive being Bob Marley. I like to raise the elevation, raise the vibration, keep it positive. And Martin Luther King, because I think he understood the core problems of our country that a lot of people probably won't understand unless they listen to Dr. Pepper, who was the King's lawyer in the end of his life. But I won't go there. Again, I'm not doing politics in any way, shape, or form. You can follow me on other platforms. I am very wordy when it comes to such things. So, next thing I'm going to address. Yes, I do have a big gash in the front of my face. I was attacked by an inanimate 2x4. I don't know why it came after me. She got me good. She got me good. And by 2x4 in man language, that means something smaller. It actually was just a pipe. It was a piece of conduit in the greenhouse. I still have the Livestock Guardians on tire drags on occasion because it limits their activity. They're still immature. They're still young. And every time a coyote makes a sound, a wolf howls or whatever, which I've never heard, but people say they're here. And they say they've been releasing them, or they say. They're going to run out after it because they're adolescents. And what is it? 40% of livestock guardians are extinguished early. And the vast majority of time is because of people, but then there are predators who fit in there as well. And they'll try to get them when they're young. When they're grown and they're not fooled by coyotes and the predators that are out there, then they'll be a lot more functional, and the wildlife know that. They don't let the other wolves grow up. They don't want to. They want to take them out. So that's why I have them on tire drag sometimes. But anyway, the point and the other reason is that it builds up muscle and strength. The other reason is it's chickens. It slows them down. And right now I think they've accepted the chickens into their pack. But every now and then, they'll make a run after one. If it comes in and grabs the wet food mixed in with the dry food, the dogs don't, they don't like that at all. And it kind of slows them down, just gives the chicken a chance to get away. All right. So anyway, but what happened is one of the tires got caught in the greenhouse. I was taking the truck tire out, the little greenhouse. And it was Hercules. He proceeded to take off. And so I'm like, he's pulling the tire, pulling me, whatever. We're leaving the greenhouse. And I had a low bar that was in that greenhouse because I've got some work to do in it. And whack, it assaulted me. Which is funny. But anyway, it's funny to me. It wasn't funny at the moment. The Tweety birds and the lights and flashing, like all of that is real. I almost passed out. Actually, I was live streaming when it happened. So I went and sat down. I'm good. But anyway, and so that kind of reiterates the point as well. Is like what I do is very dangerous and where I live is very dangerous. So while I laugh and joke a lot, I take this project very seriously, and I take the priority list very seriously. And I'll explain it a little bit at the end of this laundry list of 13 items. So at the top of the list, status wise, that was a 2x4 attack. Yeah, it's dangerous. Like when you move off grid, if you move into the wild, you want to make sure you've got your first aid kit. You want to make sure you don't play. You clean your cuts, your bruises. You want to eat as healthy as possible. As I'm having a zit on the side of my face and one right there. These are just indicator lights. It's like in a car. Your car saying, the body saying, you know what, you're eating too much sugar. You need to cut that mess out. You want to eat healthy as possible. You never know when you are going to get hurt, and you want to make sure your immune system is as functional as possible. You don't want to eat a bunch of crap, get cut, and end up with a staph infection. All right. 2 is the tire drags we talked about. Oh, look, we're almost done. We're almost 8% down the list. So I explained the tire drags and livestock guardians. You want them big. You want them strong. You don't want them to get into a bout with something like a jaguar or mountain lion that has forearm strength that, can actually grab and manipulate the dog and do a lot of damage to it. You want your dog to be big and strong enough that they look down at your camp and they say, you know what, we're going to go the other way. It's not worth it. There's a whole bunch of livestock guardians down there, and they're not little and skinny. they're big and they're strong. I'm gonna go the other way. That's their territory. This is my territory, and that's the best way to save mountain lions and the wolves as they're reintroducing them. Like I've said before, I think if we go back to farming in wise ways, ranching that our ancestors used to, then we can have an ecosystem and the wildlife can return, and we can help return it working together, being smart about that, as opposed to just, extinguishing predators. We need the predators out here. The predators are what help create and balance out the ecosystem. You want less nuisance predators and more predators that are just, they respect your territory, they respect your wolf pack, your dog pack, and they stay away from your livestock. So I'm not going to dig into that much further, but that's the point of the tire drags. Sealing techniques. Okay, right. So I'm working on some videos for sealing the ponds. So the ponds are getting bigger and bigger. Not at the moment. Bobcat's down, but I'll get to that in a minute. I sealed, the first pond I sealed, I did it and it worked. Sealed a second one, I did it and it worked. And now I'm trying the idea of mixing clays. The technique I used, I'm not using. I'm trying different techniques. I'm mixing clay because I don't want to use the bentonite that I used the first time. It's at a little bit of a distance, and I want to use the actual clay that's in the pond. And this is part of the automation. If you can come up with a technique to use levitation to remove the clay, remove the sand, remove the rocks, the grit from the soil that you dug the pond out in, in desert environment, which there's very little clay, then it means that for an automated pond building machine, it can build the pond from the materials that are there, right, digging it out, and then through levitation, bring the clay back and line the pond with clay in a way that just uses everything that's right there instead of bringing trucks in of clay. So I'm working on different sealing techniques. I have a video that I'm going to do on that, a couple experiments going that I'll share with that in a moment. The problem I have is my coffee is done. The hot water's done, sorry. The problem I have is sometimes I do things one way, and then I want to come up with other ways of doing it. And the ideas I have in automating pond building from machines, it will work the way I have in mind, but it'll work better if you utilize the clay that's there or very little clay from somewhere else like a bentonite. I'm not having tons of success with a new method. What I did in an old video, just using muddy bentonite water to help seal the clay, it worked very well. The problem, I think, an additional problem, is as that pond dries up and cracks, because bentonite clay, it expands when it gets wet and it contracts when it dries. It shrinks and it opens up crevices, and those crevices have to be resealed, or the first water that goes back in that pond will drain right through. So I'm doing a video on that, and I'll release that when that's done. The Bobcat is down. So I don't know if I explained that before, but let me get my coffee going. So what's going on with the Bobcat? Ooh, I got to cover up. Sorry, don't want a nap to fall out. It is scary. Everybody like, nap. Anyway, some of y'all don't know what a nap is. And I talk a lot because I'm more of a live streamer than a video person. So that's just me and how I go. So using the Bobcat, my old M381, Methuselah had it before I had it, and so she is very old, but I have a project to actually use a Raspberry Pi to automate the monitoring of a lot of things on that Bobcat, and that'll just be another project we'll talk about down the road. But she's down at the moment, and so the best I can tell what happened in digging out the pond, the motor mount, it broke a bolt. The motor shifted, and it either is because it broke a bolt or because one of the belts came off. The actual belt for, oh, we're losing lights. The actual belt for the bucket fell off, broke off, and it actually probably landed on the drive belt, which added another extra quarter inch, which might have been just enough pressure to break the bolt on the motor mount. So long story short, I pulled the engine out to fix the motor mount because I had to get underneath the compartment, where I had to get underneath the engine, and then pulling that Predator motor out, which is only like 150 pounds, so like I can do it myself. It's no big deal. It exposed the gas tank. The gas tank has always been old, had rust in it. I wasn't using it. I was using a backup tank. This was an opportunity to get some work done on it, do some work that I wanted to do on it. So I pulled the gas tank out, cleaned it out. Did a video on that. I'm still doing a video on that because that process isn't done yet, using white vinegar. And so it's all cleaned out. I'm just waiting for the red coat to come to coat the inside of the tank, put the tank back in. The motor mount's already pretty solid. Put the motor back in, put the belts on. The Bobcat will be back rolling. So she's down at the moment. I had to do a puppy relocation. So for whatever reason, and I think it's something just called nature, the mother dog stopped feeding for the most part, the puppies, and she's avoiding them. At nighttime, she doesn't sleep with them anymore. In fact, where she sleeps is like 100 feet away from where the puppies sleep, which is a really bad thing. I've had to get up in the middle of the night a few times and go rescue puppies that were whining and crying in a place that has eagles, hawks, and owls on a regular occasion, not to mention the coyotes and everything else. The coyotes might have trouble with the fence line. The hawks, eagles, and owls will not. A crying puppy is literally owl food, and I don't want that to happen. So I've gone out 3 a.m. a couple times, 2 a.m., grabbing puppies, putting them back in. That was unsustainable because I'm the closest guardian to where the puppies are. So I relocated the puppies to another kennel that I have closer to where all the other dogs are. This is the first night that they stayed there. It seems like they were pretty happy. I like it better because now they can get out in the sun. They can run around a bit more. Of course, at nighttime, they're closer to the bigger dogs. And I think that's going to be a better location for them. I've got to figure out how to let them out every now and then so that the big dogs can kind of bond with them. I find that the two fathers will lay down next to the puppies, and the puppies will come up, and they're bonding and licking each other. And in fact, now the puppies look for the fathers. When they come out of the whelping box, they'll run over to the father if they see it or they smell it or they even hear it. So there's a good bonding thing. But anyway, so I had to relocate them. They're all still good. They're all still healthy. There are 9 of them. Drought pond prep and aquaponics. And so this year we had a very horrible drought. I grow all of my own food, and I have been for like the last 5 years. Even before I came out here in Pennsylvania, I was growing my own food because it's something I believe in. We won't go through the health of the food in the grocery stores. We'll just leave that where it is. Again, no politics. You just want to eat the healthiest food possible. The healthiest food possible is going to come from you or a local farmer who is growing your food that you can talk with and deal with. This year was quite hard because we had a real hard drought this year, which is, again, the problems I had with the trailers and the truck, hauling all that water for the automation, for the greening the desert portion of this. Just living off grid and surviving, I've got more than enough water. I always have more than enough water for me for multiple years here on site. But to keep the trees growing, greening the desert, that portion of the product does require bringing water in, which is why I'm working on the ponds and the dams, etc. So I need to make sure that I have enough water retention if we go through another real bad heat wave / drought this year. I'm thinking not. People are saying that's probably not going to happen, but it's always better to be prepared and not need it than to not. I'm gonna say that the wrong way. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So I'm getting ready and I'm preparing everything as though I am going to go through another hard heat wave this year. A portion of that is growing all of my food in the aquaponics system. I gave away a lot of food the previous year and the year before that. This year, I will do some gardening in the ground, not lots of it. Pushing water in the ground is not a good way to go. In bad times, you want to use aquaponics, which is another great reason to use aquaponics, because it uses 90% less water. You're just recycling the same water over and over and over instead of dumping it in the ground, which is why a lot of farmers and ranchers have left this area because it's too hard to grow on limited water. So aquaponics is a great way to grow in the desert. And besides that, in my design with the multiple aquaponic systems I have, I can shut down one if I run out of water and move all the plants to another grow bed and utilize that water for the trees or whatever I have to, which, I'm trying to do every system somewhere around 800 gallons of water. So, and that's another good thing about aquaponics in the media bed systems or even raft systems. And all you got to do is you just dig the plant up out of the rock bed, the media bed, or just pick up the float, move it to a new aquaponic system or the next one, and that's the end of it. You can overcrowded aquaponic systems very easily. So anyway, that's drought prep. Battery cell replacement. Yes. And so I don't know if you hear the hum in the background, the generator's running. I use it a lot of the mornings because the power cuts out in the night. I thought I had one really bad cell and one kind of bad cell. I replaced the cell yesterday. I think I'll do a video on that so you guys can see how I do that. But it looks like another cell is having some troubles. I'm not worried about replacing them because the cells now are quite cheap. I do want to mention, so I am a big believer in lithium iron phosphate. It is not a thing that I'm debating versus lead acid anymore. And the reason why now I've got to do a video on off-grid equipment, you now have chargers that desulfate batteries. And that's a game changer for the whole lead acid versus lithium iron phosphate debate, because lithium iron phosphate batteries have an indeterminate lifespan. Again, if you keep their state of charge between 60 and 80%, there is no known lifetime of that battery. That battery will go and go and go, and it'll outlive you. However, now you can desulfate over the counter, and these things are like, mine was 30 bucks with a battery charger. You can desulfate a lead acid battery. It means the battery in your cars and your trucks and the ones you use off grid or with your solar bank can last, instead of 1, 2, 3 years, 10 times as long. And that's a interesting update, is that you can take a lead acid battery, and instead of it lasting 2 years, it can last you 20 years. Like that's huge. With the price of lead acid batteries versus lithium iron phosphate, for me, it put lead acid batteries back in the debate as to what is the best battery for a solar battery bank. So why am I saying that? But also the cost of lithium batteries has come down as well. And so I always have a few cells on hand. The next question probably be, well, why am I replacing batteries if they're supposed to last indefinite lifespans? I get used batteries, and a lot of those batteries were abused. And so the ones that were abused, I'm having to replace. I've been out here almost 4 years, and I think I've only replaced about 3 or 4 cells. The size of the bank is, what is it? 4, 8. So every battery that I have in there, let me see, 3.2, 8, 16, 32. So the 32 cells, and it's technically 2 batteries. But each cell, 32 cells, I'm saying it wrong. There are 4 cells in each battery, but each cell is made up of 4 lithium iron phosphate smaller cells. Anyway, so I replaced those. So there are 32, and I've only replaced, I guess, 4 or 5, whatever it is. So that's a good thing. I get them usually from eBay. A lot of people have the used lithium iron phosphate. What I'd recommend is get them all the same size. Mine are all different sizes. They're different amp hours. It doesn't really affect the battery much and how it works. However, it's easier when you're replacing cells if they're all the same size. So anyway, so I replaced one cell, and I'm going to replace another cell this morning. Hopefully, I can stop using that generator. And then I can take that generator down, because I want to use that. That's my bigger generator. I want to use that for the welder and for the kiln. And then the smaller generator, the mid-size one, I want to use as backup power when I need it. So those two have got to be tuned up, new spark plugs. I've got to replace a starter on the main backup one, which will be the mid-size, the Craftsman. I'm thinking of, instead of using a pull cord, because the pull cord on that one broke, I'm thinking of putting a starter on it. And so if I put a car starter on it, then what I can do is automate that entire generator. So it'll be like at like a data center site, which is, really what I'm building, is when the power takes a hit, the generator automatically cuts on. And if you have a backup battery bank, it means your servers don't go down, because as soon as the power takes a hit, the generator cuts on, and within a few seconds, power is restored, so your servers don't shut down or anything in your camp. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. I haven't decided that yet. And then I have a smaller generator, which doesn't work at all. I got to repair it. I don't know what's wrong with it. It probably is still under warranty, but didn't get a chance to take it back. And I think the smaller one's a Craftsman as well. So anyway, that's the battery cell stuff. Rock separator I'm building. I've got a design in mind. I'm not finding a good place for scrap metal. So I might do this this rock separator out of some old conduit I used for the greenhouse, like the one that knocked me right in the forehead, the one that beat me up. Yeah, you definitely gonna get beat up with some rocks. So I'll use that to take out the bigger rocks on a wooden stand maybe, and then have a second layer underneath. So top layer, conduit and soft metal, unfortunately, unless I can find. But I should be able to replace that down the road, unless I can find some good strong scrap metal. The second level will sift out the gravel, and the bottom layer will well, it's two layers, right? The top will take out the big rocks. The second will take out the medium-sized rocks, the gravel that I use in the aquaponics system, and the road and foundations. And then the bottom layer should just be sand and clay that I'll separate with levitation. So removing the sand falls to the bottom in water. That's what levitation is, and the sand floats. I want to do that in an automated way. Long term, short term, it'll be with the Bobcat, so in the backhoe. So I can make as much as possible, and I can utilize the bottom layer with the sand and the clay for making cob to finish the greenhouse walls and these cob walls. And I find that actually does well sealing these walls as well and putting on the final layer. And then I can do the shelves and the pictures and make it look all pretty and stuff. But once again, I'm sorry, I'm making my coffee while we're talking. The trusty French press. If you don't have one, coffee isn't coffee unless it comes out of a French press. And of course, fire to boil the water. All right, where are we down to? So the rock separator is going to get started here real soon because I got to finish the greenhouse. It is now January the 4th, and we still got a good 2 months where it can get real cold. All the tropicals in the greenhouse are doing great. Oddly, the Azolla is doing great as well. And I know that it's probably gotten close, if not at freezing, within the subterranean greenhouse, but it's still kicking butt. And speaking of the Azolla, I've started using that to create soil or as a top layer, capping all the soil in the greenhouse. There's just so much of it. And I was trying to keep as much of it growing as possible. Azolla is that aquatic fern, one of the fastest growing ferns on the planet. Splits and divides, grows exponentially, which I think is going to be phenomenal for greening the desert out here for making soil. So, but anyway, I've started using that now, and I'm spreading it out in here making soil or just capping the soil. I want to have as much as possible, which is why I didn't want to use it going into the spring. So when I get larger ponds and beds of this growing, I can green and make larger and larger swaths of land with Azolla. So I think that's going to do phenomenal, in terms of soil creation out here. But we'll talk more about that down the road. And so we're talking about the greenhouse heat. I've got to come up with a way of showing you guys what I'm doing. I have a whiteboard, but most of my videos are in the morning with me just talking as I'm planning and going through what I got to do for the day. So I'll be able to draw. But if I could kind of explain, the heating for the greenhouse is the cob house. So when I run this propane heater at night, it heats up the walls and that radiates out into the greenhouse, as well as sun coming in the day, heating up the ground and being 5 to 6 feet underground. you know, that 50-degree ground temperature. That tends to keep the greenhouse just warm enough where it's not killing any of the tropicals. However, I am doing the rocket mass heater now. I did find a source for the pipes. Just yesterday, I found a source for the fire brick, and so I'll do a video on that. But the cob house is a round shape inside a square greenhouse. And so the rocket mass heater is going to be by the door because I don't want to go far if I have to do something with the rocket mass heater, and the rocket stove. And the mass is going to be the walls of the cob house. So the pipe is going to go from the rocket mass heater and snake around as I'm going to double the size of the walls from 12 to 18 inches, probably to almost 2 feet in some of this area. So the wall is going to become a part of the heater. That's going to be a part of the mass. So while you're in the cob house, which is me, the walls are being heated up, which is warming the cob house, so I can sleep well at night. And then the exhaust will come out and it'll snake, well, not snake, but go up the side of the greenhouse and then out. So it'll go another 25 feet before it escapes. It'll be a real change in terms of a heating bench. And that radiated heat from the cob house and all of that cob mass should keep the greenhouse warm enough, especially with what I'm doing now is already passively seems like it's almost keeping it warm enough. So that's another thing I'm working on. I'll do a video on that. I did a rocket mass heater back in Pennsylvania. They worked very well. The problem is you really can't do them on grid because most townships don't let you build things like that. Next project. And then the roof of the greenhouse. I haven't worked on that in a little while. You know, I have the greenhouse is about 50 feet long. I've done about 12 feet of that and putting in the solid roof, and then I've stopped. That's kind of keeping it warm enough, but getting rid of that flappy plastic before the windy season kicks in, which is like now, like real soon the wind's going to start kicking up and it's not going to stop. It's going to go for weeks, which is kind of why a lot of the site out here gets a mess, is that when that wind kicks up, if anything that's not tied down is going to get blown around the site. And I hate that, but it is what it is. You know, and then of course in some of the videos you'll see cans, and the dogs like to chew on the cans. They like to play with different things, and I let them play with those things, and then I try to clean them up later, but sometimes it gets out of hand. So that's the greenhouse roof. Yes, someone had mentioned, you know, I want to see more videos on gardening. And so I'm gonna do a video and show you all a lot of the fruits and vegetables, well, a lot of the vegetables that I've grown out here in abundance. As well as an amazing wild amaranth that grows out here that the chickens love. The thing about the gardening, which I talked about before, so the other reason I'm gonna grow most of my food in the aquaponic systems now is because the chickens are free range. I think I have a type of fencing to keep the chickens out that I can make. Right now, all the garden beds are being dug up by the chickens. The trees are being attacked. I'm having to put rocks all around them because the chickens are digging up the softest soil they can find. That tends to be around the base of the trees where the soil is still a little moist, covered by wood chips, and has been disturbed by me in putting the tree in the ground. So I've got to stop the chickens from doing that. So a lot of the gardening this year is going to be in aquaponic systems, and most of what goes in the ground will just be anything that's really large or a tree. But I have a gardening video, which I'll show a lot of the still images and just all the different vegetables that grow really well out here. The best was squash. Squash did amazing out here. It just grows and grows. Zucchini squash specifically. So zucchini squash recipes, send them on. I'll appreciate you. But yeah, so the free ranging the chickens, well, I guess on that. So I'm looking at incubators now. If anyone's got some suggestions on what incubators are good incubators, I'll look at those. I'm going to start taking chicken eggs and putting them in incubators in about a month. By the end of this next year, or this year, I'd like to have roughly 100 chickens if I can. So this is where, again, the gardens are going to be coming under attack. 2 of the Livestock Guardians I'll keep as well, and I think that should be enough to let the chickens range out, but have enough security to protect the chickens, as well as we'll start selling eggs very soon. And I want to kind of do that on a replenished basis where, people can like go out to the website and say, we eat 24 eggs a week. And every week, 24 eggs just gets delivered to you. Farm fresh, free range chickens that you know they're free range because you see them in my videos, and plus it helps support the project and what I'm doing. And I'll get to the website in just a moment. I'm also working on the dog fencing, and so I've got about, I think 200, almost 200, maybe 150 feet more of welded wire fencing to completely keep the dogs within the fence line, until I want to let them out. You know, there's some nights where you want to let them out because they have to patrol, they have to do some roaming. It's what Livestock Guardian dogs do. If they really need to get out, they can get out. You know, they can jump over the fence. Like, you know, I'm not confused at all with this idea that you can contain these big Livestock Guardian dogs with simple fencing. They can dig under fencing, they can go around it. What stops them the most, which is what I want to talk about right now, is the welded wire fencing. The chicken wire was useless, and the hot wire. So the hot wire and the welded wire fencing tend to keep them from wanting to not leave. But if they must chase something, they're going to get out. And so, but anyway, that will work well. I'm not removing the chicken wire fencing though that I have around this 4 or 5 acre area. Well, I'll call plot 1, and I'm already planning where plot 2 will be. Plot 2 with the new fencing will probably go around the dammed up areas, just to make sure I can keep cows out of there. Elk can jump the fence, deer can jump the fence, coyotes can walk right through the fence, but I don't want the cows getting in because cows will literally destroy a pond. There are no natural predators for cows out here, and that's not a good thing for the moment. Fencing, is that it? That was it. Oh, the other thing on fencing is the rattlesnakes. And so I mentioned this before. Is I put so I'm gonna keep the chicken fencing up, and I'm just putting the welded wire in front of that. And a lot of the places I have, it's called deer fencing. It's plastic. You can get it in the big box stores. And I'll get like a 12-inch. Well, I'll get the 4-foot roll of it, but I'll cut it down to 12 inches, and I'll string it all across the bottom of the fence line because rattlesnakes get caught in it. And that is a great thing. You do not want rattlesnakes on your site. You don't want them showing up randomly. I've almost stepped on a bunch of them this year, and I don't want to do this next year. So the chickens, and that many chickens, are going to bring in the rattlesnakes because the chickens bring the rats. So I'll do a video on that. I think I might have mentioned that before. Just, you know, how snakes get caught in the net, and that's a good thing. You want to have a safe area to work, especially if you have small kids running around. There was one other thing I just mentioned that I wanted to dig into: the fencing, the rattlesnake. The rat war's going well. I think we're winning. The rats don't think so. I think so. The rats are like, yeah, you're not, no, it's too many of us. We breed faster than what you can catch us. You know, but limiting how many rats are on your site will definitely limit how many rattlesnakes are out here. But it is the Chihuahuan Desert. Everywhere you go, you're going to step on a kangaroo rat. It just comes with the game. As it warms up, I'll actually be getting the black soldier flies, which eat pretty much everything, including the carcasses of those things. And just taking that. I don't like the idea of killing anything. But however, you know, when you have certain populations that are overpopulated, where they're crowding out other species, as a good example, the Texas kangaroo rat is, I think it's on the going extinct list, if I said that right. You know, but what's pushing it out is these other kangaroo rats. So anyway, reducing the population of those guys. I don't have any of the rare Texas kangaroo rats around here. We only got I don't know if it's an invasive one or just the overpopulated one. But that'll be going to the black soldier flies. And from a health perspective, you don't want rats climbing around on your dishes and your plates and things like that. And so I got a lot of means of doing that. The bucket traps seem to work the best, and good old-fashioned rat traps work too, as well as I'm planning on, I want to get 2 kittens, I think, and put them with the puppies and let them all grow up together. All right, they're down to websites. I'm working on 2 websites. So people who want to support the project, there'll be different ways to do that. One will be more of an e-commerce site, and that's not for this project. It's for any off-grid projects. So those of y'all who are doing the same thing, or if you make something handmade, you know, something more sustainable, not coming from big box stores and big corporations. I'm not anti any of that, but I think we need to have more resources going to small business. So if you make those things, inbox me, let me know, get with me, because that website will be for you as well in selling your products. I already have a couple people coming on, as well as things I make, the pottery and the eggs and the azola and other things that I utilize for the project. I'll be selling from that site as well. The other is a site, more of a vlog, and project management. So there'll be more interface on that site where you can kind of see the list of experiments and projects and things I have going and be able to comment on them there. No social media really has a great platform for any type of project management, having tasks and discussions and comments specifically on that. So I'm working on that website. Release date, I don't have one. It's like aesthetics and cleaning things. It's not that high on the priority list, but it's there. I want to interact with you guys more. Again, the only reason I even come on social media, living off grid, is learning. I learn a lot from you guys. I appreciate your comments. There are a lot of skill sets that these are very new to me, and I'd rather talk to someone who's done some of this many times before, like fixing the Bobcat and mechanic work, stuff like that, and even greening the desert and building swales. It's better to not relearn, not reinvent the wheel. I don't like reinventing the wheel. And so, yeah, there'll be a project management area of that site where you can kind of see everything that's going on and statuses, and uploading the data and automation. You'll be able to see, like the Bobcat, as an example. Again, for people who don't like automation, I just don't understand how your brain works. So with the Bobcat, even though she's old and outdated, she'll be kitted up with a Raspberry Pi here very soon. So I'll know the running temperature. I'll know, I'll get alerts when I'm running it. She's getting too hot. I'll trap things like, what was it? Temperature, perhaps speed, how often I'm using it, when the filters are changed, when the last time the oil, well, when the last time the oil was changed, as well as the hydraulic fluid temperature, engine temperature. All of those things are critical in keeping up the maintenance on a Bobcat. And so when the Bobcat comes back in and parks or gets back in the Wi-Fi area, all that data from while I'm using it will get uploaded, and I'll end up on the website. And so I'll know when I got to replace things. I'll be able to do parsing over the data to determine where, oh no, she's running hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. Something is going on. Why is it happening? To preserve the equipment. So this is what I'm saying, that you can use automation to make small farming significantly more efficient. Let's not be fools and let all the automation go to big farmers and big ranchers and try to empower the small ones. So anyway, that website will definitely help you support the project. I appreciate everybody on Patreon. Thank you. Those are the folks paying the bills. I'll put a link in the description to the Patreon. I don't really upload much content there. That really is just for people who want to just support the project. They don't want to buy anything. They just want to support in that way, or they, commenting or whatever. They're just people who know what I'm doing, and they kind of believe in the idea of creating an automated ranch and making open source and available everything that we're doing. So I definitely appreciate you, but I want to give people who kind of want to get something out, out of it, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think that's the majority, whether it's a coffee cup, that I make out here, or plates or whatever, or eggs, azola, like I said, all the things that I'm looking on selling. And then the automated security. This is the last point, and I'm going, my goodness, a 43-minute video. Automated security. So yeah, you're not gonna like this, but I love it. So so the automated security is gonna get an update to where anytime someone is out on the road, my road, probably the license tags will get trapped. And that license tag data will get uploaded. It'll get parsed by learning software, because there is no such thing as AI. Please stop saying this. AI does not exist anywhere on this planet. And if it does, aliens made it, not us. All we have is learning software. And it's important to understand that, because there's always a human being driving it. Okay, they're driving it through data. It is not artificially creating its own thoughts. That doesn't exist. We, in the IT field, we do that, and we call it that, like all other fields do, because it sells software, it sells products. AI doesn't exist. But I'll be using that to parse the license tags so that when someone comes up, I'll get a beep, beep. This person is coming for a visit. Oh, okay, it's John, blah, 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 blah. And so whether I'm here or not, I'm in town, I'll know when someone is on my road. And I'll know if it's someone I know or someone I don't. And so in that automation, if, okay, well, this license tag is linked up with this person, you can open the gate, right, and let them in. My friends can come borrow tools because I trust them. I know my friends. And we work together on bartering and kind of like a gift-based economy out here. But if it's an unknown person, you can have the gates lock. You can have other things happen. You can have the road spikes pop up. You can do a whole bunch of things. You can have an alert go off, like you have crossed onto private property. Please leave. Or do that. What was it? RoboCop. Complied. You've got 30 seconds. Turn around and leave. So you can, utilize it for that. But as well as with the image recognition and using Raspberry Pi and automated farming, the drones, and determining what is this plant. What is this? Is this a tomato? Is it red? Is it ripe? If it's tomato that's red and ripe, okay, it's time to pick it. Clip, being able to see the different vines. If there are vines in the way, putting scissors out, clipping the tomato, it dropping in the basket, and it coming back. And again, a very small drone using image recognition because I have a lot of friends who work in the agricultural industry, and one of the biggest fails is the massive combines that they use, and even though they might be automated, you're doing soil compaction. You do soil compaction when you just walk in your garden. You're killing microbes with every step, and the most critical microbes are the easiest ones to kill at the upper layer of the soil. So if anything, in terms of going back to food forest and the healthiest food possible, maintaining the soil microbiology layers with no compaction and no till is going to come from a very small drone that kills very few microbiology on a wheel design, or perhaps spider legs walking through the garden, maintaining the food forest. And once again, maintaining a food forest where all these plants are growing together, not necessarily in rows, but they're cross-pollinating, and the tomatoes are growing next to the basil, growing next to cilantro. They're all working together with the corn and the beans. A software and an automated drone will be able to maintain that and harvest a lot faster than a human being will. And what we need more food, we need it cheaper, and we need it healthier. That's what we need in the future, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. All right, I do apologize for a 46-minute long video. That was not my intent, but I wanted to get through my laundry list of items. Very soon on the website, I'll have my agenda posted there. I did not give the link for the website yet. I will very soon. Give me, I guess, about a week, maybe a week and a half. I'll have it done, and we'll start working from there, where you can kind of see where I'm at, what the status, what's going on. You have ideas, you can post those ideas in certain areas, of projects that actually make sense. And you can follow, the project in an additional way. But when I do these status updates, my agenda should auto-populate into the website so you can see the next status update and video that's coming. So anyway, this is Gerard out here in West Texas doing my journal. Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully, this year is a prosperous year for you and your family. Hopefully, this year for the human race goes into a better direction. Hopefully that, we start realizing more around the planet that we are all family. One of my mainstay beliefs is that whether you're a religious person or you're a scientific person, it doesn't matter. Both say that we all came from the same tribe. We are one tribe. There is only the human race. We are only one family. And we need to go back to acting like we are the cousins that we are, sharing and working together than more than being in competition with one another. Anyway, that's my message. That's my status update on my journal. This is Gerard. Let me get up, get to work. It's like it's about Friday. It might be 50 degrees out there already. No, it's a 38. All right, so I'm gonna work on software for a little bit longer. Then I'm gonna head out and start getting some work done. Cheers. You guys have a great day.